are streaming. Hey, it looks like we're actually live, everybody. Welcome to Jim and Rob Overanalyze Movies. And today's special episode with special guests, because of course, we are going to be making fun of, I'll be making fun of my co-host, and our guests may be taking it a bit more seriously. We're going to be looking at the nominees for this year's Oscars, the 94th annual Academy Awards, the 94th Oscar Awards. The nominees are what? Anyway, with that said, let's bring on the company, everyone. First of all, of course, we have my wonderful co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Jim Chaboyko. And then right
Hello.
below him in square number 3, let's say, our good friend Brian, a.k.a. Dragon Movie Guy. How you doing, my friend?
Doing great.
Fantastic. And then last but certainly not least, let's say hello to our a man who's been on the show before, but not for quite some time. Our good friend from the Brockopp Side, Mr. Cody Brockopp.
What's up?
Guys, great to see you. Great to have you here. Let's take a quick look, see if there's anyone waiting for us in the chat, or are we about it? It looks like right now we're about it, but we will keep an eye on the chat. We do welcome anyone who just happened to pop in, but we did kind of pull this show out of our you-know-what. Yeah, we're just going to get into it. Guys, we only briefly discussed this, but to kind of make sure that the audience knows where we're coming from. Oh, you don't need that. This is exactly what we're going to do. We are going to start with our first impressions. Then we will go to who we think the favorite is. Then, of course, we'll maybe get into who the big snub was. And then, how about the long shot? And of course, my favorite. Wait, what? Who the heck got nominated? Yeah, so that's kind of where we're going to be coming from. And hopefully I'll figure out before then not to block the person in the spot immediately below me when the focus is on me. So, guys, geez, why does my lower third keep coming up? I'm obviously still sort of working out the gizmo here. Why don't we start? Jim, can I throw it over to you, and why don't you give us your first impressions?
I believe working out the gizmo is the new Gremlins movie. Anyway, first impressions. I'll give you a few quick notes here. Strange, no Denis Villeneuve for the best director. I like The New Blood, Ariana DeBose, who is, for anybody who watched Schmigadoon, she was the school teacher, the single mom. Also, Jessie Buckley is nominated for Best Actress. She was in Chernobyl as the fireman's grieving wife, and she was super impressive in that. Drive My Car getting 4 nominations, including in 2 different movie categories. That's pretty cool. I have to see Flea. They interviewed the Danish filmmaker on CBC this morning. So that's on their show Q, which was named before QAnon came around. And a couple other little notes here. There's 2 sets of couples that are nominated. Javier and Penelope, as well as Jesse Plemons and Kirsten Dunst. And there's nominations. I'm not sure how common this is. 2 nominations for women playing the same character, which would be Jessie Buckley and Olivia Colman. And lastly, on my little list here, There's a movie called The Queen of Basketball in the documentary category. It's made by a Halifax filmmaker. The subject of it is a woman named Lucy Harris, who he argues was the best basketball player of her generation. She just passed away the weekend before the nominations came out. He literally came back from her funeral, and they had got the word that the movie was nominated. So that's The Queen of Basketball in one of the short categories. So those are my sort of basic first impressions. Some of them. Anybody else?
Well, I didn't do as much in-depth research as you did, Jim. I love all those factoids though, and I agree with all of them. The thing that grabbed my attention first and foremost was Jessica Chastain with the eyes of Tammy Faye. It was a really solid performance, and just the amount of facial prosthetics that she had to wear through the course of the film really stood out to me. And also in the best actress or actress in a leading role category that grabbed my attention was Kristen Stewart. This shouldn't have been a complete surprise, but it's still an American getting nominated for playing Princess Diana in Spencer, which just sort of, I know it doesn't seem like it should be a big deal because Brits get nominated for playing Americans all the time, but when you have a role that iconic in terms of Lady Di, Princess Diana, the fact that the person being nominated was in Twilight. I know that was a while ago, it was a decade ago, but it still does surprise me a little.
She was a child.
Yeah. And then Edward Cullen came.
Damn you, Edward!
And took
Cullen.
over Batman.
All right, Cody, why don't you give us your impressions, your first impressions, my friend?
Well, overall, I think it's actually a pretty decent selection of nominations this year. I mean, it was no surprise to me that Dune was just racking up the nominations. However, like Jim said, why the hell did, Denis Villeneuve not get Best Director amongst everything else? Like, what the hell's up with that? But yeah, otherwise, I'm happy to see that nominated because I was really blown away by that movie. And just to kind of piggyback off of the Kristen Stewart being nominated thing, I do see where you're coming from there, being an American, being, portraying a British political figure, so to speak. But, I just saw the movie last night finally, and I really enjoyed her performance. Thought she did a really good job. So I think it's a well-deserved nomination, but that's just my own opinion. As far as stuff like Best Actor, I was happy to see Andrew Garfield getting nominated for Tick Tick Boom. I'm not a big musicals guy, but I really like that one. So, really, he's just been killing it like all year long. So I'm really happy for him for that. And let's see. Oh, and also Mitchell's versus the Machines got nominated for Best Animated Feature, which I'm super stoked about. And I think it may have a solid chance of beating Disney again this year, which would be kind of cool and show that Sony knows how to make good animated movies when they actually try. So those are my quick thoughts there.
Well, thanks very much, Cody. I appreciate that. Yeah, for myself, gents, I've got nothing. As I've said before, in some ways I'll be reacting to you guys. I'm like, I think these things are ridiculous. I will, as we get closer to the day, dive in a little deeper because I think we will do our contest again and I want to win again. But otherwise,
as long as we can dress up, I don't care.
You fill your boots there, sir. But yeah, I really, it's like, hey, that happened. That was a thing. All right, gents, that leaves us with, well, what do you guys want to talk about next? Do you want to talk about your favorites? Do you want to talk about people you think were snubbed, Cody? Perhaps you might have more to say on the subject of Monsieur Villeneuve. Villanueva.
I don't know how to pronounce his name either, so
Villeneuve.
we're all in the same field of ignorance there. Okay, that's what I thought. Villeneuve, yeah.
Denny.
Well, okay. You know what? Why don't we go? Why don't we take a look at long shots?
Sure.
You know what? And who wants to take on long shots first?
I'll start off. If nobody else minds, just to get the ball rolling, is that Coda, actually, which Rob and I saw and rather loved. I was doing a little research this morning. It said
I'm gonna
that
tune on. I'm gonna mute myself so if I start crying.
but the apparently it's of the 10 for Best Picture, it's the least watched one. It's on Apple Plus. You sort of have to wonder the market penetration or whatever the word is that Apple Plus has, if people do have the chance to see it. But despite its quality, apparently it was the least watched of the 10 films. So yet I still hope for it. And Troy Kotzer once liked one of Rob's tweets. So that's our connection to Coda. Thank you very much.
Well done.
Thank you. It was
Who
quite,
was also nominated for Best Supporting Actor. So anyway.
Rob was?
Oh, fantastic. Yes, I was.
Troy Kotzer.
Oh, right.
All right. You know what? Why don't we go? Brian, do you want to take a swipe at the long shot? Guess what? You're here anyway. As I take these things off and put them on.
Yeah, my long shot, I guess, would have to be Don't Look Up for Best Picture. That just seems like it's out of place being nominated for Best Picture. I love Adam McKay. I love the entire cast. I like the film, but Best Picture for Don't Look Up for an apocalyptic comedy that's just sort of sarcastic and the entire way, that just does not seem like a Best Picture candidate to me. So that would have to be my biggest long shot of this entire group. The other that kind of surprised me was the Best Supporting Actress nominee in Jessie Buckley, because she did a really fine job in The Lost Daughter. I think she actually did a better job than Olivia Colman did in that film in some ways.
Oh,
but here's an actress who, it's a fine performance, but she was not even barely on the poster. Like you didn't even see her name anywhere. That was one that I had to look up several times when I was reviewing the film. So that one also seems like a long shot to me.
Jim, do you think?
Probably win, but...
Jim, did you think Brian laid down a hot take?
Yeah, well, anybody these days, if you go against the coal, you might find yourself in trouble there. But the coal face, I don't know what her nickname would be. Like, got to give her a fighting nickname. But anyway, Coleman is so she can do no wrong, basically. So yeah, I'd say it's a hot take.
Yeah.
Good on you, Brian.
Here. Okay.
I think he was fishing for a hot take.
Well, you know what? Hell of a hot take, but it actually doesn't. It's a risky take, but it may not actually be a hot take. He has. It sounds like Brian isn't just pulling that out of his ASS. As we refer to Brian in the third person as though he's not even here. Okay.
Hey, what about that Brian guy?
He's not even a dragon. What up?
Okay. Okay, now I'm going to hand it over to Cody. Tell us about your take on the long shot here.
Yeah, until you guys said that with Don't Look Up, I realized, that's kind of an interesting choice for Best Picture. I mean, I agree with you, Brian. I actually did like the movie, and I thought it was, say what you will about the movie overall, but I think was a good message about, people not wanting to listen to important life-threatening things, but that's another story. And I didn't realize that Coda was like the least viewed amongst all the Best Picture nominations. I actually did just watch that like 2 nights ago finally, and I thought it was incredible.
Did it make you cry?
It made me feel
Yes.
good in like a warm, fuzzy kind of way, but not crying because I have like no emotions. But
I can't quite
You're
do the
dead inside.
hand signal thing, but what the hell?
yeah, but
I didn't cry as he looks at Batman behind him.
I got yeah. See, I guess I'm gonna just kind of piggyback off what you guys said, saying Don't Look Up and Coda probably are the least likely to win Best Picture. Uh, I think the big thing too is they're not autobiographical films either. They're not telling something that happened in real life. I don't believe. I think Coda was adapted from something else, but it seems like the Academy tends to go towards things that are prevalent and based on real world events. So it does make sense when you start to think about it a little bit. Let me see. I'm just taking a quick peek back through a couple of the
I
nominations
mean, that's
here.
okay. We can move on.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So I'm just gonna kind of play it safe and be like, I agree with what you said. No more questions, please.
That's what that's absolutely fine. Why does my lower third keep coming up and every other thing? Guys, I'm going to actually make a case that maybe Coda isn't the long shot. You guys might think it is, or some may think it may think it is. Even though it's been the least viewed, I do think it fits within a certain vein of what the Academy likes, which
Oh, yeah.
is a feel-good story about a family under hardship, but not too hard, and a socially, it's like the I think it was more subversive and more radical a film than it may look at first blush. But to someone who isn't, doesn't look at the world the way I do, I could see them seeing, oh, isn't that nice? And deaf people can do things too, which I think is a real. That's like that's also Academy. They love that stuff. So I don't think it's quite the long shot. I'm not saying that means it's even a middle shot.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's quite as long a shot as some may think it is. But otherwise, no, that's the only opinion I have. And much like Cody, I'm more reacting to what you guys said on that one. All right, gents. Oh wow, look at all these things. Well, I obviously still have certain things to figure out. Eventually I will. The next would be actually, you know what? I don't know why I took it off. Well, actually, you know what? The next thing we need to do, gentlemen, we need to shamelessly beg for a like.
Self promo.
A little self promotion. We need to beg for a like. We need to ask those people, hey, if you haven't already, please subscribe. And last but certainly not least,
Please
get out your bells, guys. I know you got them. What is this? Cody's paper mache bell.
All right. Now I think, and actually I do want to let's just quickly check in. Oh, nope, never mind. The chat is you know what? They're just so riveted by what we have to say on the subject. They're just they're just no, quick, keep talking, guys. Because what we need are more white men on the internet talking, sharing their opinions. All right. So the next, I think, let's talk about the Dragon Cinema individual is cool. Oh, we did get a bon mot in the chat from somebody else on our show. DMG, why are you not watching this? Okay, I think, guys, we can. How about we take a look at snubs? And who wants to who's Who wants to talk about the snub as far as they're concerned? What's a snub, or several? You can have more than one. More than one person can be snubbed at an Academy Awards nomination selection.
Well, mine is a Best Picture candidate that I believe should have been in there, but was somehow excluded. Besides being right up there with one of the biggest domestic box office performances of all time, the fifth or sixth largest international of all time, Spider-Man: No Way Home, for being the eighth or ninth Spider-Man film. That film had people cheering and in tears in the 3 times I saw it in theaters. Every single time, even a month after it came out. It's clearly not the traditional Best Picture candidate, but when you look at some of these other films that are in that have been nominated for Best Picture, clearly better than Don't Look Up, in my opinion, is Spider-Man: No Way Home. So the fact that the MCU and Disney and that big marketing machine publicly was saying that they were going to be pushing for Best Picture for Spider-Man: No Way Home, and it's getting overlooked in favor of Nightmare Alley and some of these other films, it does surprise me quite a bit.
Is it possible, Brian, and it's just me thinking out loud, that maybe they said they were going to put a push, but they didn't put a push, or they didn't put much of a push?
That's possible. I mean, those pushes cost money, and billboards and radio spots and TV spots, and I don't live in LA, so I don't know what they did or didn't buy.
Was there a big for-year
park benches and buses and billboards? But usually when Disney says they're going to spend money, they spend money. So,
yeah. Well, there we go. All right, Cody, do you want to try next?
Sure.
All right, we have contestant number 2.
Snub away.
Although I think
Gucci should have been nominated.
Ooh, clipping. All right, is Monsieur Villeneuve your snub, or do you have another one?
I mean, that's honestly the biggest one I could think of, because it just kind of baffles me, because it got Best Picture, cinematography, visual effects, costume design, sound design, I believe even, but not directing. Like saying, hey, the movie looks visually good and the costumes are nice, and the Foley artist, they did it good, but the director, nah, screw you, Mr. Blade Runner 2049, get out of here. I'm like,
science fiction.
It's like, directors, they're not the only ones that make movies great, but they're certainly the main cog in the overall machine that makes them work. So when you're going to nominate the movie for that much, but not nominate the director themselves, it's just, why?
Especially when he's been so much a part of the the
marketing,
identity, the promotion, all the actors refer to their relationship with Villeneuve. Any of those other things need somebody providing a vision. I see what you're saying there, Cody.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a good point. It was kind of a big part of the marketing push. Like, hey, it's not Dune, it's Denis Villeneuve's Dune, and you're gonna watch it because of that, because he knows what he's doing. So yeah, it's just kind of strange that way, and just kind of once again going off of what Brian said a minute ago with No Way Home not being nominated, I don't personally think it would win, but it would be kind of like a cool sentiment for at least to be nominated, because it's a movie you could easily nitpick, because it's an MCU movie and not everything is like picture perfect and flawless and everything, but still it's like it rallied people together. They got emotional, they got excited, cheered, screamed, yelled. Same thing with me. Every time I saw in the theaters 3 times as well, it's like, yeah, even like the tiny little crowd, people were still cheering when the you-know-who and the you-know-who showed up. It's been like 2 months. We can talk spoilers, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So yeah, when Toby and Andrew showed
Who?
up, everyone lost their minds, and it was great. It was like a real like culmination of 20 years worth of Spider-Man movies. But okay, I'm kind of rambling at this point,
Yep.
so yeah. So yeah, Denis Villeneuve is definitely my snub. I feel like I'm pronouncing his name slightly different every time I say it, but that's it.
You know what? As a Canadian, I'll pronounce it two different ways. Myself, Villeneuve. Yeah, any of my nonsense is just teasing you, man. Who have we missed anyone as far as Mr. Chaboyko? Let us just a sec here. Let's see if I've maybe actually figured some of this. Oh,
There's a little bit of a linguistic trap.
Take everything off.
There's a little bit of a linguistic trap in Canada. If it's Dennis or Denis with one N, you usually pronounce it the French way.
Yeah.
If it's got two N's, then it's Dennis. So if you see that name with one N, and this always happens too, you go, "Hello, Denis," and then the guy says, "No, I'm Dennis." So it doesn't. It either works or it doesn't. But anyway,
I am not your buddy guy.
Snubberoni. I have to. Well, yeah, the ones that have been mentioned so far. But being a Wes Anderson fan, I have to stand up for the Wester and say that I don't think French Dispatch got any nominations. Not even for Alexandre Desplat. It might have gotten one, I think, but yeah, his music guy, his composer, usually gets something. He has the last couple of times, I believe. So the movie and then Alexandre Desplat. I'm probably mispronouncing that. Also, let's not forget the whole heart of Coda is Emilia Jones, the actress's name, who is not even American, but there's an American, somebody from the UK playing an American, was not on the list. They do have a lot of young new actresses, but yeah, there's only one person in the cast of that, and that was the father of Troy Kotsur.
Oh, there we go. He's back.
I would say that's Emilia Jones's and Wes Anderson / French Dispatch is the one for me.
That's a good point, actually. Wow.
I agree, Jim. That's a good one.
Yeah. Do you guys think, here's a question, I guess, first for Jim, but maybe for all of you guys. Jim, do you think that, as I take nonsense off, I really am getting it right. I swear to God. Eventually I will. Do you think, let's say, take Wes Anderson first.
Mm-hmm.
Have we reached a point where we're past peak Wes Anderson? Like to a point where he's so studied, so stylized, so Wes, the Wester, that maybe he's, and this doesn't, I suspect years from now, they'll still be looking at his body of work and, tracking the changes and everything, but that maybe for the Academy, it's like, okay, I'm done with, or it's just, now I'm saying this because I didn't see the movie, so I'm not sure. I've never been able to finish the Grand Budapest Hotel. Moonrise Kingdom, I think, was my out and out favorite Wes Anderson film, and after that, I've always been kind of left like I don't feel any heart in it, but I don't know if has any. I haven't seen the French Dispatch. I should see the French Dispatch.
I mean,
It's
that's
really solid.
Yeah, that's one thing that they say about him. I suspect he's got a certain way of doing things, and there on the surface there may be no new tricks. I mean, you're talking to one of these books is a 400-page book on Wes Anderson and movies. So, yeah, I mean,
What's
I think
the book,
people,
man?
I got it for Christmas. It is I can't read it. It's white on pink. Accidental Wes Anderson. And it's
He just doesn't
sort of
want to show his derriere on camera.
Well, I got to take the whole thing off, and I'll get it when somebody else is talking.
That's monetization's enabled, right?
For me, there's nobody else that does. He's sort of like Radiohead to me, which is one of my favorite bands. There's nobody that does things quite the way that he does. There's nobody that makes movies the way that he does. Sure, they're a little studied, maybe a little bit twee, a little bit precious for some people. The whole dollhouse thing they always bring up, or the sort of the cross sections of the buildings and all the sort of stuff that he does. But I just sit there for 2 hours and I'm totally delighted. And I get it's not for everyone. He's like cilantro, which I also like, but it's sort of like that. You either dig him and that, or you don't. And that's not like I'm better because I dig him. It's just I think he either speaks to you or he doesn't. And with this one, like he slowly makes changes over time. A lot of his movies previously were about the relationships between people on the sort of the micro level. When he got to the Grand Budapest Hotel, it was about something bigger, sort of the world around the hotel and the pressures that the world put on the characters in the movie. And walking out of that movie, I said, well, it was actually about bigger stuff than he usually does. And somebody else said, yeah, you're kind of right about that. I don't think there's anything. He's not doing anything obviously overtly new, so that might take away some of the stuff. If this was the first time picture by a new director, their eyes would pop out of their head. But because it's Wes Anderson, they're sort of used to that kind of thing. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Let's take another subject, shall we? I wish I need something that spins.
Like a spinning wheel.
Yes, I do.
They have digital ones.
Oh my goodness. We've got people in the chat.
Woohoo!
Is it Jelly Duck?
No.
Oh.
1/3 of the Balmoral Street Research Irregulars.
Oh my gosh.
Ms. Katie Fowler is in the house. Good to see you here, Katie. She making she's lurking. They were all served a plate of snubberoni.
I don't get it.
And then she just wanted to use Jim's word there. She is also on Team Cilantro.
Yes.
Well, there's that's awesome. Great to see you here, Katie. Thanks for lurking, but jumping in the chat every now and then to bring your special wit and making us laugh. Thank you very, very much. All right, gentlemen, we've got really two subjects left. And before we get into our final thoughts, and I also, we do need to plug ourselves and of course next week's show. But why don't let's talk about, The Favorite.
I didn't see that movie.
Nah.
What are you going to say? Let's talk about Bruno.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? That makes it even better that we should send this over to Cody to tell us who he thinks the favorite is. You know what? And we might as well stick to Best Picture because, Cody, who do you think the favorite is for Best Picture?
I'm assuming we're talking about like the overall favorite, not my personal favorite.
Yeah, the overall favorite. Who do you think's got the lock? But you know what? Why don't we get the overall lock, or maybe not the lock, but the one you'd put money on, and the one you'd emotionally want to see win. Does that work for you guys?
Yeah. So want to win and probably will win. Okay. Well, I mean, the Best Picture contenders are pretty strong this year. As far as I know, I have once again not seen every single movie on the Best Picture list, but I've seen a few of them, so I have strong faith in most of these. I think it'd be really cool if Dune won, personally, just because, I wasn't like completely, absolutely 100% fanboying over the movie, but I was pretty close. So I think just it's a really well-made movie from a technical perspective. So it's the one I would like to win just because of that and just the big push for that movie from just the fans and critics and everything like that. But I think as far as what's most likely going to win is something. Hmm, that's kind of a tricky one because I feel like Dune is a contender regardless of my own choices. But um, I mean, I've heard good things about the movie Belfast, so that could be a
Okay.
possibility. But
No. What's your? I gotta nail you on this. Which one of the ones you see? Which ones do you think has got the best chance of winning? What's your
best
gut
chance.
telling you? What's your gut telling you? Give us your gut reaction.
Okay. Well,
There is no
honestly,
well in
I
a
feel
gut
like
reaction.
The well ran
that's
dry.
that's just how I talk. Okay, shut up.
He says
Okay,
to
well,
the guy who has control of all of the mute keys. Anyway,
okay, well, my gut is telling me just Coda. It may not be the most potential, but I feel like it's the right kind of relevant topic and also
fits the format.
fits the format, and it could be just enough of a wild card that you could believe it happening. So that's the one I think could. The one I want to is Dune. There we go. Happy now?
Perfect. No, that's fantastic, man.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Brian, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. I think my favorite that I want to see win Best Picture is Belfast. This is a film it's dialed in exactly what it needs to be,
Yep.
but it's not what you would think it would be. I love the visual style. I love um, the very specific point of view, and I love that this is kind of, sort of, but not really an autobiographic look at Kenneth Branagh's childhood, real life childhood. Um, I just love that picture. I've loved it since I saw it. I think this should be the best picture. I really like Dune, but upon seeing Dune a second time, it didn't blow me out of the water like it did the first time. Versus the second time I saw Belfast, it still jumps off the screen. So I think Belfast will be a favorite. The other one I think will be a favorite is The Power of the Dog. I think there was some messaging and structure issues with The Power of the Dog, but I think that is one of the things that is an Academy favorite. It's a subject it's an Academy favorite. So cinematography, editing, beautiful, but messaging and structure had some issues for me. But I do think Power of the Dog will also be a favorite along with Belfast, I think.
Gotcha. Cool. All right, Mr. Chaboyko. What
So the
what's
heart
your
tells
thinking, my friend?
my heart sort of is in two different movies, Coda and Dune. I also should say it's nice that they actually used all 10 nominees this time as opposed to whatever they had last year, which was not 10. But so Coda or Dune, but I'll put my head says Power of the Dog. I'll just choose one there. But yeah, Power of the Dog. I think sort of has all those, it checks a lot of boxes for the Academy. Whether or not it was perfect is another thing, but it hits a lot of those
Yep.
a lot of those things that the Academy tends to go for. So
You know what? For myself, gents, I gotta admit, what am I saying here? I'm trying to fix all my nonsense, all my fancy nonsense.
I'm not the only one. Cool.
I gotta admit, I think as big and bold and kind of awesome as Dune was, it does not have my heart. Not the way Power of the Dog hooks me and I still think about it. Coda hooks me and I still think about it. I got to admit, though, if I was wagering right now, we're really early. We got to see what the buzz, all that BS, right? I would be probably putting more money. I'd want to split my chips on Dune and Power of the Dog. Whereas my heart would be, honestly, if it was Power of the Dog, I'd be like, no, I'm good with that. But Coda, I'd be like, that's right. Now we're all crying. Although I got to admit, like, I'm not, years from now, will Coda really hold up? I don't know. I don't know. It's such a sweetheart film.
There will always be deaf people, so probably.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where to go with that. Especially as a channel that is really slack on doing any kind of closed captioning. Thank God YouTube does automated stuff. I'm just doing. Anyway,
no, just the closed captioning on YouTube is a little bit interesting sometimes.
Imperfect, but
yes,
better than squat. Oh God, I feel like I'm digging a deeper and deeper hole, especially about a movie I love. All right,
sorry.
Okay, guys. Before we move to wait, what? And I do have I'm not sure it's quite my thing. Why don't we first? Let's you know what, and Cody, let's go to you first. After I take off all the nonsense, tell us, Cody, what's going on while I throw up your lower third. Tell us about what's going on with you and what's coming up on what video have you recently put out that we should be suggesting people go and see. There will be a link to Cody's channel in the description. I will do that after the show because I forgot to do it now. But there's Cody. You can see him on Twitter at Cody Brockopp. Anyway, Cody.
Okay, well, I actually did upload a video this afternoon. It's a Blu-ray review of Encanto. Really enjoyed that movie. So you're more than welcome to check that out. But the one video I just posted this week it's my favorite video I've done in a while. It's where I went out and looked for all the merchandise for the Batman. And I had all kinds of black eye makeup on and just looking rather suspicious and all that. And it's got a pretty good reception. And so I'm really proud of that video. So check that one out first if you would. But otherwise just me doing my usual BS of talking about movies and making unusual comments about them. So yeah, make sure to check out my channel for more of this nonsense.
Fantastic. And I will, you know what? I'll pin that video in the first comment, Cody. Thanks very much, man.
Cool.
Mr. DMG, Dragon Movie Guy, who's not Cody Brockopp. He's this guy. Eventually that will come up.
There we go.
At Dragon Movie Guy on Instagram, on Twitter. What's going on, my friend?
On the Twitters and on the Instagrams and on the even on the TikToks, even though I haven't posted anything to the TikToks yet, I still am on the TikToks. I am working on a couple different videos this upcoming week. I'm working on the beginnings of another first credits video for The Batman.
Oh, hell yeah.
I also am going to be doing a ranking video. It's, we're in February now, but we still have yet to get a superhero movie. So I'm going to be doing a ranking video of all of the superhero movies coming out this year in terms of which ones I'm most excited to see coming out. And there are 10 of them, a nice round number. So assuming they don't get pushed back any farther, I'll have that top 10 superhero movies of 2022, as well as my first credits video of the Batman.
Fantastic, of Mr. Patterson and everybody else in the have you, in your research, don't just without telling us one, are there any big shockers, or are you always kind of surprised when you've been researching stars' first credits?
Some of them, it's funny, like some of them will show up in a really big movie, and then some of them will show up in like a music video or something. It's really strange. Like I was looking at Christopher Lloyd's because I'm starting to do one for Back to the Future as well, and Christopher Lloyd shows up in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. But
Yes.
also I was trying to find Michael J. Fox, and Michael J. Fox's first credit is a Canadian sitcom he shot while growing up in Vancouver. He was 17 years old. He shot a couple of different sitcoms the summer before his senior year in high school, and there's nothing. There's not a still. There's not a
Welcome
video
to Canadian television.
Yeah, so I
before
did find,
Family Ties, then.
Yeah, so it's from that same summer, the summer of 1977. I did find another clip of him. He and again, he's 17, almost 18. He looks like he's 12, and he's like, at like naval level of the guy who's in the sitcom with him. So the second of the two sitcoms I did find a very, very brief clip with. That will be in a future Back to the Future themed first credits video.
Groovy.
And I also want I'm going to announce that I'm going to do a recasting.
Music
video.
is getting queued up.
Yes, for Back to the Future. Who would you cast in Back to the Future today?
Gotcha. All right. Well, we'll be looking forward to that. Awesome, man. Mr. Chaboyko and I will do a bit of a plug later, but we do have to get a move on. And I also want to shout out quickly Katie Fowler chimed in on the chat. Where are we here? My bad, folks. She also added, she'll be using one of those spinning wheel thingies to make her Oscar win predictions this year as well. I believe that is what she did last year.
Oh, that's
right. I
right.
don't think it worked out as well as it could have. Or as well as she expected, but I think it actually did better than the math. Like, because remember, it's not a 50-50 thing, it's 1 of 5, right? And Best Picture 1 of 10. So I think her actual win ratio was better than one could expect for 5-sided dice.
Yeah.
Which actually do exist. All right, guys, let's jump into, and we're gonna do it quick now. This is Wait What, and that is really that moment of they nominated who for what? Jim, did you see any? Was there any in that really went, are you kidding me?
Well, it's not so much what was included, but what wasn't included was the biggest song from any of the movies was We Don't Talk About Bruno. Is that what it's called? And that was from Encanto.
Nor do the Oscars.
Yeah, well, no, they won't be talking about. Another song was included from Encanto, but not the Bruno one, which is I've read think pieces on it. I've heard radio pieces on it, and it didn't get nominated. Like the single biggest, and it's got like it did better than the big. It's a Snow Queen thing. Yeah,
Let It Go.
Let It Go. Thank you.
The thing that right now leads, it's at the top of my YouTube music playlist.
Oh, is it really?
It is.
The one that Rebecca sings and Ted Lasso, anyway. But
it played at the bar last night too.
Oh yeah, really.
Bruno played in the bar last night, which is
yeah. So that's my biggest.
Bar.
Okay, that's my biggest. Wait, what?
All right,
anyway, so it's sort of a snub, but
all right, Brian. What's Ed, do you have one?
Yes.
And all right, let's hear it.
It's a weird one because I'm a huge fan of his. He's one of my favorite directors of all time. But why? Wait, what? Steven Spielberg getting nominated for Best Director for West Side Story. You know, Ariana DeBose did a great job, but how do you remake a Best Picture? You know, he went darker and gritty while still being a musical with all of the classic bright and fun and happy West Side Story songs. It to me the tone of that film was a mess. The execution of the film was a mess. Yeah, they updated some of the cultural stuff that's changed in the last 60 years, but that was about as far from a best directing job as I've ever seen Steven Spielberg do. I mean, maybe compared to 1941 or Jurassic Park: The Lost World as two of his worst films. I'm not saying it's as bad as those films, but there's no way that of all of Steven Spielberg's work that this is a best director nomination in my mind. So to me that was the biggest wait, what?
All right.
In
Well,
this,
there we go. Cody, what's yours? What's your wait what moment, if any?
I'm gonna be totally honest. I didn't really have one up until now when you guys started pointing out some very good points about Steven Spielberg being nominated for West Side Story. Which, before I say anything else, I haven't seen the movie yet. It's like I'm kind of conflicted on the whole thing just because I want to do it because it's Steven Spielberg, but I don't because Ansel Elgort and everything we found out about him over the last couple of years. But and then also the fact that yeah, and actually I was actually kind of surprised that We Don't Talk About Bruno wasn't nominated because I just saw Encanto for the first time a couple of weeks ago on Disney Plus, and I was just instantly hooked on that song. So it's like, how did they miss that one? But anywho, to be totally honest, I was kind of hoping that House of Gucci would get nominated for a couple of things just because I've heard nothing but terrible things about that movie and I wanted to see social media explode for a few days. I still haven't seen that movie either, but I'm tempted to like get the Blu-ray and do a video on it just to be like, ha, House of Gucci ruined my week. So
it's only 3 hours.
So yeah, that plan unfortunately backfired. So I'm just gonna be the non-free thinker again and just be like, what they said. Yeah.
Well, for myself, guys, I'm gonna now. I gotta qualify it. But I think nominating Jessica Chastain that's my bit of a wait what, and this is almost like a teaser for a video I hope to eventually do, which is my whole critique of Jessica Chastain's acting choices once she got to drive her own I'm the Star bus. And it's one of those things, she's an actor where I'm like, she should be doing so much better work than she is. And it's like she cannot find a role that she does not want to turn the role into something sympathetic, which I don't think is a horrible thing or a terrible thing. But when you compare her to other actresses of her caliber, actors of her caliber, where they're like, no, I can look like an asshole. And I'm thinking of Charlize Theron is a perfect example of someone, you think about how she played in Young Adult, where she's willing to be kind of a jerk. You can still have sympathy for a jerk, but yeah, I struggle with her choices. And even this, where it's like, I appreciate, and this is not to say that her nomination does make sense. Again, another thing the Academy loves, it's like, but look at all the makeup they had to put on. Now, I could even actually, maybe a lot of it, because it's actors who first decide who gets nominated, and then after that, everyone gets to vote. And some of them may have been, oh, I hate putting all that crap on. She's got my nomination. That sucks. But yeah, I struggle, and eventually I'm going to have this thing where I talk about how frustrating I find her acting roles and her choices and the way the characters are developed. There you go.
So
that's my wait what.
So Robert, you were comparing it to Charlize Theron. So are you saying that Charlize Theron should have been nominated for an Oscar for The Old Guard?
I knew that was going to come up, damn it.
No, God, no. But here's the thing,
Zing.
though, is it's Charlize Theron at least is made, like, again, it's part of the disappointment of The Old Guard is it's like, I've seen her do a lot fucking better. And here, like with Jessica Chastain, which is why the 355 is sucking wind, why Ava was lame. Like, I don't, you know what? Yeah, it's, I think in the end, we
She's
might
kinda
be
wasted.
looking, we might be looking at a career where what could have been, except that she was unwilling to take certain risks until, and who knows though, maybe she wins, she starts taking more risks. All of a sudden, this is actually the kickoff to a career that really skyrockets. But I don't know.
You know, actually, I think she's had roles though that I felt that she could have been nominated for, like I'm forgetting the name, but the poker movie that she did,
Molly's Game.
Molly's Game.
Not at
Molly's
all.
Game, and then Miss Sloane was
That
a
one,
much smaller movie, but that was a really good a good court case kind of legislation type
and
film
also where
as
she
well.
was willing to be vulnerable and kind of an asshole. Unlike Molly's Game, where it's like almost, you know, you can. No wonder the person she portrayed was like, boy, I look great in there. I don't even look like I was high for 6 months in a row. All right, guys, we've got to move on. But Cody, you're trying to get in there, word in edgewise, or are you just?
I was just going to make a joke about, hey, what about Jessica Chastain's role in X-Men Dark Phoenix, where she didn't even know her character's name the whole time?
There you go. Another great moment for Jessica Chastain's filmography. All right, guys.
Heck, if she was nominated for that, that should have been the hashtag Oscar so white.
Ooh, zing. All right, guys, we are going to, first of all, I do want to plug, do I have it in here? I thought I did. Oh, yes, I do. Jim, what are we looking at this weekend?
We're looking at the Oscar snubbed Hero.
That's correct.
Apparently made some of the critics' list. They said nothing for this guy. The director's actually been nominated a couple times before, but not for this one because it's a snub. Snubberoni.
Snubberoni. Another
TM.
snubberoni. But
R
yes,
with the circle around it.
on Sunday at 9:45 p.m. Central Standard Time, Jim and I will be back at a regular time slot to overanalyze a hero, which you can find on Amazon. It is an Amazon, a Prime Video, an Amazon Studios production, an Amazon original movie, as you can see in the poster there. All right, gents, back to this. Who wants to lead us off in? Whoops. Final thoughts. Sorry, wait. Final thoughts.
God?
That might be new for Cody. I don't know if he's been
That's
on.
right,
on
Cody. All right. Who wants to lead us off with final thoughts?
Well, I can just say that.
All right, chime in there, Mr. Chaboyko.
I've got a lot of movies to watch before March 27th. I'm a little bit behind on some of these categories, and so it's funny because some of them are right there. So instead of falling asleep to Forensic Files for the next month and a half, I'll be falling asleep to not falling asleep, but I'll be watching like Summer of Soul. They're all right there on all our streaming services, so it's super handy, and I'll be catching up. I think making a list and checking it twice. That's another holiday. Anyway.
All right. I get it. DMG. I'm just going
the
to
one
roll
that-
through this. One more opportunity to throw out some social media love for our wonderful guests. DMG, what are your final thoughts?
So two things. One was that I really did love Andrew Garfield's performance in Tick Tick Boom.
Yes.
I'm a huge fan of the movie Rent, and Tick Tick Boom loosely covers the creator of Rent, some of his life story, and you could totally see the bones of what would become Rent in Tick Tick Boom, which actually was a musical on its own. But overall, I just love that performance. We don't really see too much of story about the creator of Rent and that whole world itself. And then I just had to kind of laugh because Drive My Car, it just sounds like an '80s teen sex comedy from that both of the Coreys, Corey Haim and Corey Feldman, should be starring in. I'm sure it's probably a serious film. I don't know what the subject is, but just Drive My Car. To me, it just sounds like an '80s teen sex romp as a title. So,
well,
I
and there
definitely
is
need to catch up on it. But
what was it?
You're
The
not
early
wrong.
aughts had Sex Drive, where they literally got
that
in a
was
car
2009.
and drive. Say again.
That was 2009.
There we go. The aughts, aughts, knots, the 0x, 0x. Okay, thanks very much, DMG. Yes, I will apologize. I refer to all of us as white men. As an Asian American, that was a classic moment of white person
tweener.
whitewashing.
I'm both. So I mean, I mostly consider myself white because I'm only half a bad driver and I'm only half good at math. So.
Don't react, guys. Don't react to that. It's a trap.
Moving on. Cody, why don't you finish us off here?
Well, I'm 100% white, so feel free to call me a honky if you want to, but
Oh.
no one's offended by that term, okay?
What are your final thoughts? Bring us home, man.
Okay. Well, much like Jim, I'm slowly catching up on my Oscar noms too, because thankfully a lot of it is on streaming. So I'm watching one Oscar-nominated movie per night. I've so far seen Spencer and Coda. Tonight I'm probably gonna watch either Tragedy of Macbeth or Nightmare Alley. So hopefully I'll be reasonably caught up come late March. But yeah, I think overall there's
And
some...
it is late March. We got time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think overall the selections here, nominations are pretty good, pretty promising. I don't think there's anything too jarring. There's a couple of things where it's like, why was that not nominated? But overall, I think there's plenty of strong contenders to go around.
Cool. Well, thanks very much for that, Cody. For myself, yeah, thank you both for joining us tonight on what was kind of a, I don't know if I want to do this. Maybe I do. Oh, it looks like Cody does, and Brian's always up for a good, fuck it, let's make this happen. So thank you guys for coming. This does give me some energy thinking about another watch party, kind of like we did last year with the contest and everything, the prediction.
Absolutely.
The Jim and Rob overanalyze the Oscars prediction party. And of course, I also do not want to forget our favorite chatter and apparently lurker, Ms. Katie Fowler, for joining us in the chat.
Yay.
Woo. Thank you very, very much, Katie. Really appreciate you coming by. Yeah, so folks, that pretty much wraps it up for us tonight. I will ask you all, I'll ask you four gents, if you can, hang out in the green room. To everyone else, thank you so much. Like I said before, if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, ring the notification bell, hit the like. It does help us. And check out both the Brockopp Side and Dragon Movie Guy. I will have their links in the description or in a pinned comment, one or the other. That will happen, I swear to God. All right. Okay, I'm gonna let's all wave.